Last week, there were multiple demonstrations throughout America about ending the shelter in place, some of which even happened in California. It may seem easy to dismiss these protests, but surveys by the UC Berkeley Institute of Governmental Studies found that about 30% of Californians are more worried the orders will extend too long as opposed to be cut too soon. This percentage is not the majority in any sense of the word, but it is not an insignificant amount. In this episode of COVID Chronicles, I actually wanted to focus on a different group of people in which I myself fall into. Now that people are stuck inside and they need to get out and get some fresh air, a huge amount of people have started flocking to bike trails and paths around the Bay Area, which essentially negates the point of closing down state parks and beaches, again, myself included. Last Sunday, on April 26th, my friend Finn Ferdinand and I went on a bike ride from Albany all the way down to the Bay Bridge. The ride was about 20 miles round trip, and throughout we saw crazy different environments that I think reflect how people have been exercising during the shelter in place. Today I want to show some of the videos from that ride and talk about what's going on. Are people staying inside? Are they acting like nothing is going on? And how to get outside in a safe way. We started by biking through a lot of suburban streets, and while these are normally not that busy, they definitely had another level of quiet that I felt was there. This feeling also went on through 4th Street and Bay Street, which are two really popular shopping areas that obviously are now full of boarded up shops and deserted areas. Up until this point, Finn and I had probably seen about a total of 8-ish people that weren't working tops.
Then we crossed the highway and took the San Francisco Bay Trail for about 2 miles, and it was relatively crowded.
A few days before we had taken the same trail north towards the Rosie the River Museum, although I don't have any footage from it, the trail was also crowded. While this trail is right on the water and exceptionally beautiful, keep in mind that the pavement is probably 15 to 20 feet wide. There were enough people that we definitely weren't able to stay 6 feet apart from everyone as we passed them. I actually threw my mask on because it felt dangerous to not have one on. As we were biking, we would definitely run into sections in which we would awkwardly get sandwiched between groups of people, and a noticeable amount of people weren't wearing masks. I definitely don't wear a mask all the time when I'm biking because, quite frankly, it kind of sucks, but on a trail like this, it feels polite and necessary.
We then made our way down the Bay Bridge Trail, which is not nearly as glamorous as the previous one since it's just next to the highway, so there definitely weren't nearly as many people as the Waterside Trail.
Once we actually were biking across the bridge, I was honestly anticipating more people. Besides getting completely passed by a kick-ass old guy twice, this part of the ride felt pretty normal. That being said, it felt normal and not shelter-in-place normal. People were definitely still there, and at the end of the bridge on Yerba Buena Island, there was even a bunch of bikers all just hanging out in the same rest area, which frankly pissed me off a little bit.
To their credit, they were staying 6 feet apart in groups, but come on, you have to see that this is a bad idea.
The way back, the ride was pretty much the same in terms of where people were everywhere and where it felt like a ghost town.
Looking back on the entire day, I felt really conflicted because there were times where there was absolutely no one around and times where there were definitely more people than I expected for a statewide quarantine during a pandemic. While there were obviously no places in which things were crammed, places like the SF Bay Trail could have been better. So how do we fix this?
Well, as important as it is to shelter in place, we obviously need to get outside and get some exercise every day. If you can, finding new ways to get exercise inside or maybe just in your backyard at least a few days of the week would be great. Even if you can just go outside every other day, that would immensely help you stay safe and cut down on exposure. Obviously, being outside is still a necessity, especially for those who live in apartments and smaller homes. If you do go outside to run or bike or get some fresh air, try avoiding peak hours like mornings, or even better, avoid popular trails. I highly recommend trying to find routes that aren't as popular. Since I ride to the Bay Bridge, Finn and I have been avoiding the SF Bay Trail and have been finding other nice areas to ride. And lastly, wear a mask. When you're exercising, it definitely can be annoying and it feels a little unnecessary, but it really doesn't hurt. Although the end of California's shelter-in-place seems to be within reach, it's still important to establish a reasonable and sustainable schedule for still getting some fresh air without endangering others.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for watching this week's episode of COVID Chronicles. Thanks so much to Raycon's earbuds for not sponsoring this week. This footage obviously is not normal. It's from the bike ride that me and my friend really like to go on. It's super pretty. I highly recommend getting outside, but doing so in a safe manner is really key right now. A couple of states have been opening up themselves slowly, and I feel like a lot of news recently has been that social distancing and things like that have been working really well, which I think is awesome, but I think one of the worst things we can do right now is take that for granted. So I'm really worried, obviously, about opening up too early, but I think maintaining safe distancing practices would be really smart right now. Lastly, a follow-up from last episode, my sister was actually able to get a decent sum of money from the government, which has been super helpful. It did come a month and a half later than when she first applied, which is not great, but it's kind of doing the best I can right now. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time.